Shabbat Shalom, friends. It has been 5.5 years since the beginning of a phrase that we knew not to say 5.5 years ago, and that was the start, of course, of the COVID-19 global pandemic. And early on in the pandemic, in those surreal days of the big lockdowns, Cantor Andy and I would often walk to Home Depot. It was a regular outing. We were, of course, working from home, and we almost always had, I should change that to have, something that needs fixing, cleaning, or improving in our little rental house. It was a great way to get some fresh air and our 10,000 daily steps throughout 2020 and much of 2021. It's a little more than 2 miles, and the round trip, provided we didn't buy too much to carry too much back, was a really wonderful way of just getting out and feeling like we were also doing something to help our living situation and to take care of that sweet little place. Long before those walks to Home Depot, we all knew, that the men who were gathering at the corner of the parking lot needed work. I've never hired a day laborer. I don't really know what's involved with that. The little bit of renovations, formal renovations I've taken part in over the years probably involved the person we hiring, some of these men, mostly, who need something to do for the day and a few dollars so that they can take care of their family. But now, in 2025, signs are up in the surrounding blocks warning people to be on the watch for immigration sweeps. And the same Home Depot that gave us a pleasant diversion during the thick of COVID-19 appears in the news with many other Home Depots as locations of panic and confusion. There is a teaching in this week's Parashat that reminds us of the humanity and very often the desperation of human beings who hope for and rely on getting hired work to survive. It was the first pasuk of this week's reading, and it goes like this, Deuteronomy 24, verses 15 and 16. It says, "You shall not cheat a poor or destitute hired person among your brethren or among a stranger who is in one of the communities of your land. On that day shall you pay his wages before the sun sets, because he is poor. Ve'elav hu noseh et nafsho. Else a cry to the Eternal will be issued against you, and it shall be a sin upon you." Now, I've left that one phrase in Hebrew just for a moment because the language is idiomatic and vague. Literally, ve'elav hu noseh et nafsho means something like, toward it he lifts up his inner self. It's not clear. It's difficult poetry, and it compels us who need to work with this text in English to pause and consider the complexities of the worker's financial and emotional condition. The phrase before, for the most part, is easier to translate. It comes across as he is poor, but because the poetry is strange, there are a lot of translations of that second part. So literally, it's toward it he lifts up his inner self. But among the translations that I found for it, we have The worker is needy and urgently depends on it. He is afflicted. For it, he lifts his life breath. He is poor and sets his heart upon it. He is a poor man, and he places his life in jeopardy for it. Because he is poor, he risks his life to earn it. He is poor, and to it, in other words, his wage, he bears his soul, risking death in his work. That last is among the most famous of the translations, and it is Rashi's commentary. For his wage, he risks his life. In all of those versions, we are confronting the very real possibility that the man in need is hoping desperately for an offer of employment. He may have no option but to risk his life doing dangerous tasks, and he may be counting entirely on this job for his and his family's survival. He may even risk arrest and deportation. Despite the different translations, what is indisputable is that the position of the hired worker is one of necessity, urgency, and possibly peril. It may even be a matter of life and death. I will speak only for myself. I cannot begin to imagine what it would be like to live day to day, meal to meal, depending on piecemeal, intermittent, and inconsistent employment to get by. Some of you may have experienced that, so I don't want to say none of us can begin to imagine. Some of us may very well be able to imagine that. But to be literally on the edges of society, not even certain that the work would be compensated in a timely manner, that's a whole other piece of the pasuk about paying the worker on time. But the translation that probably moves me the most, because it's a phrase I've known since I was little, is to have your heart set on something. Here, even a person who gets hired, who makes it through the day, who does the work, the Torah acknowledges that they don't even possibly get paid on time. And they have their heart set on it. Can you imagine having your heart set on being paid and then possibly being utterly taken advantage of? It's inconceivable for most of us, I would imagine. This, of course, has been the reality for day and night workers for ages. And the Torah could not make it clearer. In response to what was probably routine abuse of laborers, the Torah insists that they be treated with dignity, their hard work respected, and their humanity honored at all times. The treatment of workers in the United States is among the most urgent and hotly debated issues of our time. Our vast dependence on and debt to immigrant laborers has created profound societal rifts, to greatly understate the case. I'm haunted by the now regular specter of people running in terror from masked immigration enforcers. The recent Trojan horse-style incident of enforcers disguised in a truck that some men thought contained employers with job offers, jobs that their hearts were set on. The cruelty of that was really unfathomable to me. To say we absolutely have to do better, I feel like is such an inadequate statement, but I'll mostly leave it there. Many of our fellow Americans believe that anyone without proper papers should be rounded up and deported immediately, regardless of circumstances. I have some very close friends who feel that very way. Others, in fact, a vast majority of all Americans, according to every poll that I consulted, and it was like 12, I finally got tired, saw a pattern. But a vast majority of Americans believe this immigration and work system of ours should be overhauled entirely, so that those who are actually here to better themselves and contribute in good faith can have a piece of the elusive American dream. How and when that might be achieved is too far to be seen. Parashat Teitzei contains more mitzvot than any other portion in the Torah, about 74. Believe me, it was a little bit hard to choose and then ultimately not hard at all. Most are compelling, even if some of them are obsolete. Many are very well known. But this mitzvah, the one concerning the treatment of the worker, is the only one in the Parsha with the warning that unless it is observed properly, a cry to the Eternal will be issued against you, and it shall be counted as a sin upon you. It's really rare wording. It showed up almost verbatim 2 weeks ago when we were cautioned, beware lest you harbor the unkind thought, the 7th year, the year of debt remission, is approaching, so that you are mean and give nothing to your needy kin, who will cry out to the Eternal against you, and you will incur a sin. The Torah knows people. It knows that the temptation to withhold from those in need is a terribly powerful one, so much so that the unsettling promise of a cry to heaven is raised. How much more peaceful and dignified could the world be if hearts and hands were a little more open, if judgments of those less fortunate than we were a little less harsh? Aspirational, to be sure, but perhaps it is worth striving for. We all know the words on the base of Lady Liberty, give me your tired, your poor. May her call to those who look to these shores for safety and opportunity be stronger and louder than any cry to heaven that might ever be raised against all of us. Ian, my friend, will you share your beautiful poetic words?
Shabbat Shalom. This one's called Not Again. It's a series of questions, and you'll pardon me today, I'm a little bit hoarse, so I'll do the best I can. How many walls do we need? Our walls surround us like loyal servants, who by their nature are sensitive to our plight, as they offer a well-deserved blanket of security. One day we'll venture forward to seek out goodness that lies outside. For although we are afraid, we tire of loneliness. How many guards do we need? In an uncertain world that feeds our fears, we reluctantly feel a need for protection in the form of a guard, whose loyalty and goodness we can depend on to protect us from bodily harm. We can only hope that it will change someday. How many tears do we shed when sadness feels overwhelming in a world gone crazy with violence? When one of us hurts, we all do. As one living organism flows through each Jew, we are connected and nurtured by God. He is the one that will always love us. How many times do we say, I love you? Not enough times, for this primal force is as ancient as the mountains. It seeks to buoy us up to the surface, where breath is but a second nature and the sky soars, with love for each other, the congregants and clergy, without whom our lifeless souls would wither. What good are splinters? Don't worry, little splinters, for although we cannot see you, we know you must be there, hidden away, keeping out of sight, until one day you shall venture out and display your gentle and unassuming nature. How many lifetimes do we get? While some have tried to move mountains, other of us have felt resigned. But with the little time we have left, and only one lifetime to live, we must strive to keep one foot on the ground and the other in the sky. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much, Ian.